Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain and UAE have cut all diplomatic ties with Qatar. Authorities of the four countries have accused Qatar of destabilizing the region. Reports say the four countries will suspend all air and sea travel to and from Qatar. Qatari diplomats reportedly have been given only 48 hours to leave these countries, and citizens have been asked to leave in 14 days. Qatar has been accused of supporting terrorist groups, including the Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. Qatar's ties with Iran have also come under question. Abu Dhabi-based airline Etihad says it is suspending flights to Qatar amid a Gulf diplomatic rift. That's the latest coming in as a result of the fallout, the immediate fallout of these four countries cutting ties with Qatar. Our senior editor and senior international correspondent Padma Rao is now joining us in WION studios for more on this. First up, Padma, breakdown for our viewers. To what extent does this really change things?
Well, it's, Qatar has been playing, walking a tightrope between its good relations with Iran on the other side of the Persian Gulf. And let's not forget that Qatar is a Sunni majority state, whereas Iran is, of course, a Shiite majority. But yet they have managed to maintain extremely good relations. In fact, ever since, beyond the Iranian Revolution, since the era of the Shah in Iran. And the commonality really is the oil fields that they share. Over whom they share control. In fact, most of Qatar's oil comes from a field that is somehow linked to Iran. And Iran and Qatar jointly own the world's largest gas field. So there is a commonality there. They have a very close economic relationship. And they are also members of the OPEC, the non-aligned movement, and the OIC. So now, this is not coincidental, I feel, that this development of banning Qataris comes on the heels of President Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia. Because President Trump has instructed the Saudis to also sign a $110 billion deal, as you know, Molly, and he has instructed them to act against terrorism. Now, one would normally imagine by terrorism you mean the ISIS. Of course, that's not. It's a little, it's not so subtle, and it's a little subtler than that. What the United States really means is Iran, much more than the ISIS, because don't forget, in the ISIS, or rather in Syria and in Iran, there's much in common that President Trump and the United States has with ISIS.
And so, in that summit, of course, as part of that summit, he lashed out, not minced any words when it comes to Iran.
Oh, absolutely.
That extensive criticism. So you are suggesting that that development is linked to the latest.
Absolutely. I think what is happening is we're seeing, the emergence after a very, very long spell of internecine wars emerging again in the Gulf states. Most of them, at least on this side of the Persian Gulf, the states like Saudi Arabia, like Bahrain, like Qatar, like Oman, Yemen, they are Bedouins, as you know, Molly. They're Sunni majority, but they're Bedouins, and there have been a lot of traditional rivalries and traditional clashes over thousands of years, in fact. So I would say that this is, there is a United States element to this, but there is also a very strong Saudi Arabian element to this, because Saudi Arabia does not want to see, Tehran's sphere of influence grow. Right. And it already is growing, because Tehran supports Syria, Tehran supports Lebanon, and, and Yemen as well. So this is one of the reasons why there has been a concerted attack on Yemen, as you know,
yes.
Because Saudi Arabia accuses Yemen, as it does indeed Qatar, of fomenting trouble, supporting Shiites and people opposed to the Saudi Arabian kingdom. That's the same in Bahrain.
Right.
That's the reason why Qataris have been told to leave Bahrain within 48 hours or whatever the deadline is that they've been
48
given.
48 hours for diplomats and 14 for citizens.
That's right, because they accuse Bahrain, they accuse Qatar of supporting the opposition, the Shiite opposition in Bahrain, as well as supporting sections of the media that have been critical of the ruling government.
Absolutely. Where does Oman also stand here, Padma? Do we see a subtle support coming in from Oman for Iran?
Oman is now left within the Gulf Cooperation Council. Oman is left as practically the only state that continues to support Qatar. Yes. And it remains to be seen whether Oman, out of sheer pressure from the larger and more influential kingdoms around it, like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, whether it also eventually withdraws support. But for now, it's for certain that Qatar itself, though it is the country with the largest per capita income in the world, and 50% of the world's oil reserves are actually controlled by Iran, Russia and Qatar.
Yes.
So it remains to be seen, how smaller states like Oman in the Gulf Cooperation Council are likely to react. Will they also pull out support for Qatar, or will they continue diplomatic relations? That's something that remains to be seen.
Also, economically speaking, if we may, Padma, and also what do you see as the immediate fallout of this move that's been taken?
Well, I don't think there's likely to be an immediate fallout in terms of, conflict or something arising on the ground, because let's not forget that, as I said, Qatar has successfully balanced its relations to Iran, which is literally on the other side of the Persian Gulf, and also there is a religious divide between Iran and the rest of the kingdoms here.
Right.
So I don't think there's going to be an immediate fallout, but certainly it indicates a shifting sands in the Gulf, if I may use that expression. It indicates shifting support. It indicates the formation of new alliances, which on the one hand have Sunni republics led by Saudi Arabia, or Sunni states led by Saudi Arabia, princely states, I'm sorry. And on the other hand, you have the one breakaway, which is Qatar, leaning more towards Iran, Syria, Lebanon and Russia.
Right. All right, let's leave it there for the moment, Padma. But before we put a close to this discussion, let's also listen into some reactions that are coming in.
صرح مصدر مسؤول أن حكومة المملكة العربية السعودية انطلاقا من ممارسة حقوقها السيادية التي كفلها القانون الدولي وحماية لأمنها الوطني من مخاطر الإرهاب والتطرف، فإنها قررت قطع العلاقات الدبلوماسية والقنصلية مع دولة قطر، كما قررت إغلاق كافة المنافذ البرية والبحرية والجوية ومنع العبور في الأراضي والأجواء والمياه الإقليمية السعودية.